Today, we're diving into a really powerful story from the world of literature. It's a story about art, ambition, and a friendship that just shattered under the weight of the world's most prestigious award, leading two of Japan's greatest authors down a really tragic path. So it really makes you wonder, right? How can something like the Nobel Prize, the greatest honor a writer can get, actually lead to tragedy? It's a pretty haunting question, and that's exactly what we're going to unpack. Okay, so to get this story, you first have to meet our two main players. And they are two literary giants who were, polar opposites. First, you've got Yasunari Kawabata. He's the mentor, the quiet genius, a guy who literally described himself as the embodiment of loneliness. And then you have his protégé, Yukio Mishima. He was the complete opposite, a fiery, almost theatrical performer who is apparently driven by this massive inferiority complex. All right, here's how we're going to break this whole thing down. We'll start with their friendship, then we'll get into the book at the heart of it all, Snow Country. After that, we'll see why this prize was such a big deal for Japan, how it all led to a huge collision between the two men, and then the two shocking suicides that followed. Finally, we'll ask, what was the real price of this prize? Okay, let's kick things off. We've got to set the stage here, because before all the rivalry and the drama, this was really a story about a close relationship coming completely undone. You see, for a long time, these two had this incredibly strong bond. Kawabata was the mentor, Mishima was the student, and he really looked up to him. But then, the Nobel Prize enters the picture, and the pursuit of that single, huge prize started to twist everything, slowly but surely driving them apart. All right, section 2. To really get what's going on here, we have to talk about the book that's right at the center of this storm. It's Kawabata's masterpiece, the very novel that won him the Nobel, Snow Country. Just listen to this opening line. The train came out of the long tunnel into the snow country. The earth lay white under the night sky. Wow. That is one of the most famous opening lines in Japanese literature for a reason. In just a few words, Kawabata sets this incredible mood. It's quiet, it's lonely, and it's got this kind of beautiful sadness to it. So what's the book about? Well, on the surface, the plot is pretty straightforward. It's a bleak love affair between a wealthy guy from Tokyo, Shimamura, and a young geisha named Komako in this remote hot spring town. He's this kind of detached observer, more of a critic than a lover, and she's just incredibly passionate but also completely constrained by her life. It's a frustrating, beautiful, and kind of heartbreaking dynamic. But here's the thing about Snow Country, it's not really about the plot. What makes it a masterpiece is the mood. The whole novel is just so enigmatic, lyrical, dreamy, and yeah, pretty bleak. It's less about what happens and more about the feeling Kawabata creates. It's like a painting you can get lost in. Okay, moving on, because this wasn't just about two guys wanting an award. No way. To really feel the pressure they were under, you have to zoom out and see what the Nobel Prize meant for Japan as a whole at that time. Think about it. This is post-World War II Japan. The country was devastated, and they were trying to rebuild everything, including their national pride. So for them, winning a Nobel Prize was seen as this huge symbol of rehabilitation. It was a way to tell the world, we're back, we've recovered. And here's where things get interesting. A big part of Kawabata's success came down to something called self-orientalism. It sounds complicated, but the idea is simple. It's when a culture packages itself to meet the exotic expectations of the West. And that's kind of what Kawabata did. His work focused on traditional Japanese beauty, this timeless aesthetic, which was exactly what the Nobel Committee was looking for at the time. So you've got these massive stakes, personal glory on one side, national pride on the other, and it turned the competition for the Nobel into this intense, unspoken showdown. And check out this timeline. In the early 60s, Mishima is out there actively campaigning for the prize. He wants it, and he's not hiding it. But meanwhile, his mentor, Kawabata, is playing a quieter game. He actually coerces Mishima into writing a recommendation letter for him to the Nobel Committee. Talk about a power move. And then boom, 1968, Yasunari Kawabata wins. After the win, Kawabata was super modest in public. He even said something like, I was awarded the prize only because Mishima was too young, trying to be humble. But that didn't really fix anything. Privately, the damage was done. The win created a rift that would never heal. Mishima, for his part, publicly praised his mentor. He said all the right things. But his true feelings came out in his final novel, The Decay of the Angel. In it, he totally satirizes Kawabata's Nobel lecture. It was a thinly veiled attack, basically saying his mentor's vision of Japan was shallow. The friendship was over. Which brings us to where the story takes a truly dark turn. The fallout from the Nobel Prize, well, it ends with two shocking suicides. It's just unbelievable. On November 25th, 1970, Yukio Mishima commits this incredibly dramatic public suicide by seppuku. It sends shockwaves around the world. And then, less than 2 years later, on April 16th, 1972, Yasunari Kawabata also commits suicide, this time by gas inhalation. And you have to understand, these two events are deeply connected. A biographer noted that after Mishima died, Kawabata was incessantly haunted by the specter of Mishima. He apparently had nightmares for hundreds of nights in a row. It's clear that his protege's death absolutely devastated him. So let's talk about the price of a prize. After all this story of incredible art and just terrible tragedy, what are we left with? What's the real legacy here? Well, it's a complicated one, that's for sure. The legacy is, on one hand, this beautiful masterpiece, Snow Country, and a huge moment of national pride for Japan. But the flip side is a story about a complex rivalry, a shattered friendship, and ultimately two brilliant lives cut way too short by suicide. And that really just leaves us with one final, pretty unsettling thought. We celebrate these artists for their work, for achieving a kind of immortality through their books. But when you look at this story, you have to wonder, what is the true cost of artistic immortality?